So, does including a funny text choice actually improve the performance of Luquier? And based on my testing, kind of to an extent. Regardless, Luquier has been eating a lot of fat L recently, and so does a lot of dark state decks due to the fact that the Can Dragon that everyone like it for some reason exists, and Bushi has to be nerfing the dark state support for by now half a year. So to that stupid deck, but regardless, DBT11 Luquier does provide some interesting support that actually improve upon the deck already does. So what does it improve upon? Well, now you can rush at a higher power a little bit faster, and at the same time you have some interesting maneuver to get away from some of the stronger deck in the current format right now. So if you guys enjoyed this kind of content, consider clap that subscribe button as it will help me tremendously, and the deck log link will be in the description so you guys can refer to this deck list after this video. And a disclaimer here, some of the starter cards, I mean the card that start or help towards a combo that I'll be using, is on the pricier side of life, as it is something that I'm currently running in my deck. So I would encourage you to try out different cards with this deck, as fortunately this deck starter can be quite flexible.
Nice.
And without further ado, let's start off with the right lines. And as you can see here, it is starting off with a Pale Moon right line. So Ionia, Irina, Lilian, and then Luquier. This is still the best right line for Luquier, as it does give the base level of filtering as well as advantage. And also, having a Pale Moon unit in your soul is advantageous because of Luquier order needing a Pale Moon unit. Then moving on to the grade 3 lineup, we have 3 Luquier, 2 Acelte, and 3 of the Luquier order. So as you can see here, I'm running one less of the Acelte and the order compared to my previous deck list. And that is because of the fact that now we have a much better starter to an extent, even though that starter is a little bit controversial in my opinion when it comes to building Luquier. And for those who are not aware of what Acelte and the order do, Acelte help you to counter charge, and the order help you to enable this deck fourth attack. Moving on to grade 2s, we have 7 grade 2s total, 3 of which are the starter that I was talking about earlier, Steam Performer Toge or Tog. I still don't know how to pronounce the name. Toge is a very powerful card, as it does help to filter grade 3 not only just from a drop zone compared to cards like Falcade or Sargon, but also it helps to filter out from the deck, making your deck side a little bit thinner, a little bit easier to hit the trigger as well. But the problem with this card comes with the synergy, as it does invalidate Falcade Performer.
My disappointment is immeasurable,
which was a very expensive card in the past due to his flexibility to increase a card in your soul at no cost. And because of that, I feel that this card will piss not just Pale Moon people, but I feel Dark State people in general, because of the fact that why the hell you designing a card that kind of invalidates one of the most powerful staple in the recent months. Like Falcade dropped from close to $20 to $10, which is a good thing, but at the same time it make me wonder, why are you making a card that invalidates the other support completely? You didn't do that to the other nation in general. The other half of the grade 2 lineup for this deck is of course Rising Dragon, and let's be real, it is a way for you to filter cards from your hand, it's a way for you to hit really hard thanks to its ability to gain up to 20k easily. And thanks to some of the new support that this deck did receive, Rising became even more crucial part of the deck. If you are trying to make a budget version of Luquier deck, one card that I will always highly recommend to run is always be a Rising, as without Rising, the deck's performance dropped drastically. Moving on to grade 1 lineups, and aside from the PGs, which everyone do run, we have Jovial Juggler, which is a card that I mentioning earlier. Jovial Juggler does 2 jobs, and it does help the deck extremely well, while the deck also flow very well with this card, and that is the fact that this card is treated at grade 0 in soul when you are using Luquier's effect, and it helps you to chain activate into another card effects and put that card that you call back to soul by the end of turn. This means that more than half of your board will be in soul by the end of turn thanks to the Luquier effects and then Jovial, which actually make the life of the control deck like Ganiwa a lot harder, as you are avoiding a lot of your key piece being retired. And also the fact that you can just use any other unit to put into soul and call it out means that you can repeat a lot of effects the same way that Pale Moon does in the past. A good target for this effect is of course Rising Dragon, Ursalte, and Breeding Dragon. Then we have Sargon, which is also another starter I choose to run due to the fact that it can put up to 2 cards from your drop zone to soul, which is actually a really helpful thing for this deck now as the deck start to soul blast a little bit more often thanks to the fact that you can use Jovial to repeat the effect multiple times in a single turn. And then we have 2 Breeding Dragon. To be fair, if you are not running the tech choice that I run, you can actually increase this copy to 3 to 4 up to you, but I feel that it is still very crucial in it, and it does boost your Rising Dragon column by 5k, making it hit a magic number, and also is a Pale Moon unit, so if your opponent somehow retire all your Ray Guards, this is still a Pale Moon unit to use for the other effects. And last but not least is the great one from DBT11, the Double R, which helps you to search for a specific order and gains additional power if you play a normal order. So you can see some of the elements that I said here actually synergize well with this deck. 1. You play normal order, so this means that its gain power ability will always be active as long as it is on the field. And 2. It filters the deck. Yes, you only filter 1 card out, but that order can be used in early game to boost this unit power for an early rush, or you can just use it as a fodder for cards like Rising or Luquier effects to get all your Ray cards out. So the point of my tech choice here is to be able to have a fodder card to use it for multitude of ways, and that's the point of my tech choice, and that's why it kind of works in this deck due to the fact that it helps you to keep the card that have a higher shield value or more important at that moment instead of just like shove it into soul in general.
Synergy.
Then moving on to trigger lineup, we have 6 crit and 5 fronts, which is the typical that I run compared to the last time. This is due to the fact that the main problem of this deck is that the Vanguard is still hit on the low end of life, so running fronts or crits actually is a better choice here, as it means that you don't have to give the power to your Vanguard and you can just pump all into Vanguard, so it just reduces the risk and stress of having to think where you should put the trigger to. And of course, my OT of choice is Dusted. New favorite OT is Pharaoh. And for this case, it is a better option here due to the fact that you can recycle your key cards to extend into offensive game as well as the defensive game, and also the fact that you can just choose a unit to get a crit is just much better than Galmagale, which stick his crit gaining skill to Vanguard only. But he does have some use, just not in this deck. So that is pretty much it for this deck list. A little bit unusual, but I feel it does have a lot of fun factor in it, and also it does have some good practical use in the card that I choose to run in this deck. But what do you guys think? Do leave down in the comments below, as I'm extremely curious. And that's all I have for today, guys. Take care of yourself, and this is McMegane signing out.